Okay, so why do we stress looking at life with fresh eyes or a new perspective? Why is that important? Well, let's go back to our lives. Here we are, spiritual beings having human experience, but we came in here with these challenges I mentioned a moment ago. And I don't know where you are in your life, but I know from, having done a lot of these talks and talking to so many people and having so many experiences and people in my own life, I know that each of us has something going on in our life that is less than what we desire. There is always, I want this and I got that. And there's a gap. And I'm disappointed about the gap in my life. Now that can be anywhere from, I'm looking for a relationship, I don't have it. My car's broken, I got to fix it, and I don't know where the money's coming from. I'm in a job I don't like, I don't know how to get out of it and still support myself. I have just had the transition or death in my family, and I'm dealing with that loss. I have a pet that I love, and I lost that pet. I want to express my creative talents, but I don't know how to do it in the job that I'm in. I could go on and on and on. We have these things where we come into life as these human beings, and we, through our patterns in life, we have expectations and we find gaps between what we're experiencing and what we want. And we feel like we've got to change that. Now, some of you say, well, no, my life is great. My life is great. Everything's going just well. But you also, I would suspect, even if you say that, you might say, but I don't know what's next. There's still a hole in me where I want a little bit more in life. I'm on the spiritual path, but I don't know how to take the next step in claiming my oneness and really knowing it at the deepest level. So no matter where you are, somebody has a little gap where they're trying to find what's next for them and how to fill that gap so they can come to life with wholeness and not with a sense of lack. So, how do we move on? And what I would encourage you to do in this morning is, as I was going through that, think about the gap in your life. Where is there something in your life that you're wanting that your experience is less than that? Just hold that for a second in your mind. So you can play with that as we move through the talk this morning. Okay, so we want to stress looking at life with the new eyes or fresh eyes so that we can change that condition. Change that condition. Two sayings come to mind in regards to this. The first is our well-known definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so many of us go through life that same way. We look at the problem, the gap in our life of something that we want to create or manifest, and we still do the same things over and over and over and over, hoping it's going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. Well, let's think about what are we actually doing? What are we actually doing? And where did that come from? Well, the fact of the matter is you were born on the planet, you started learning how life worked, you created sort of a mental roadmap or map of life, you created this sort of worldview, which is a package of ideas that you sort of carry around in you that says, this is right, this is not right. This is what I want, this is what I don't want. This is how you do things, this is not how you do things. This is what a family looks like, this is not what a family looks like. Everything in life you have, we buy Toyotas, not Fords. We buy this, not that. I go to this store, not that store. We have all this stuff that we've sort of accumulated. Now, why do we do that? Because life is sort of like, we got to navigate through things, and it takes a lot of energy. And so if we can create little shortcuts as to what's right and wrong and how we do things, then it makes our lives a little easier. Think about when you got to go to the grocery store, and you got a favorite grocery store you go to, and you're going to get something. You walk in there, you look around, you know exactly where everything is. You know exactly where to go get the bread, the eggs, whatever it is you're there for. You know the locations. You know it without knowing. There's a shorthand that's been built into your experience that allows you to navigate through life. And that builds in ease. It's there for your protection, because the less energy you've got to expend on that small stuff, the more you're available for the big stuff when it comes along. But there's a downside to that. The downside is that we make assumptions about everything. And we're looking at stuff the same way, the same way, the same way. So then now you're coming to your problem and your issue in life, and you're addressing it with the same way you've always addressed problems in your life. What I'm calling you to think about is, how can we move beyond that to look at it with a different perspective, with fresh eyes? Okay, So whatever your issue is, my charge for you this morning is to think about how you can reorient your look at that issue. How can we do that? How can we do that? Well, I mentioned the grocery store. You ever go to another grocery store and the things are in different places? Now, I want you to think about for a moment is that how your senses become a little more heightened. You know what I'm talking about? Now you're like, okay, where is stuff in the store anyway? You know, where do they hide, you know, the spices? And now you got to navigate, and you're actually paying more close attention. The perfect example for me, and the perfect one that anchors into me this feeling that I want you to get to, is traveling to another country. I love traveling to other countries. But what I find when I go there is everything is different. All my shortcuts don't necessarily apply anymore. They're driving on the other side of the road. The road signs are different. The stuff's in another language. I go into stores, not only are they not laid out like I like, they got products I don't even know what they are. And the stuff I'm looking for, they don't have. All of a sudden now I'm elevated up to a heightened sense of awareness of life because all my little shortcuts and ways of navigating through stuff aren't working. I can call on them for past experience to help me, but I got to now be heightened up into a greater sense of awareness about what this is like, what this condition requires, so I can navigate through it effectively. You get what I'm talking about? We've all gone places where we've never been before, and we have to have that experience. All right, now I'm going to go ask you to glance around, because you already are familiar with this place if you've been here before, and you know what your hands look like. I want you to change your perspective in this moment. Imagine, and to do this at home as well, folks, imagine that where you are, you've never been before. Close your eyes for a second and say, I've never been here before. I want you to think about it like I've never been here, and I want to look at it like I'm seeing it for the first time. So open your eyes and look around and pretend you have never been here before. Look at stuff that you've never focused on. Look at your hands as if they've never been. My God, where did those age spots come from? I don't remember that wrinkles. Those scars. Look at it differently. Look at it differently. Now you might be thinking, okay, Mark, that's great. I can look at things a little bit differently and see them with fresh eyes, but how's that going to help me with those issues I'm dealing with in my life? How can I take that idea of looking at stuff as if it's brand new and I'm looking at it for the first time and apply it to the job I don't like, or the car that needs fixing, or the relationship that's less than what I want? Well, it's putting on fresh eyes with a new perspective. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? I mean, you have to look at the scenario and you have to get above it. You have to get above yourself, and you have to get above the whole story about it, and you have to get above the other people involved in it, and ask some critical questions. As you look at it as an observer, looking at it newly for the first time, not immersed into it like you have been up to this point, but as you observe the whole scenario, what are the beliefs that you are holding about what's going on? And which of those beliefs maybe are contributing to that sense of lack? What's the other person's perspective? Put yourself to their mind if you can. What are their desires and needs in this moment? Why is it that they're holding the perspective that I feel in conflict with? If there's other people, do that for them as well. Try as best as you can to look at it with that fresh perspective of the ideas of everyone else involved in the whole scenario. Okay? And then say, what is the greatest calling here for the whole story? Because everybody's God. We're all united. What's the best for everybody here? Now, anchor this in. I'm going to give you a little quick story from my own life. I got married when I was 20, and we had 5 kids and went forward through many years of marriage, and it was a great and wonderful marriage. But towards the end, we had some challenges. And we made we sat down one day and just sort of said, here's what's going wrong in a relationship and what I want that I'm not getting. We had a dialogue about it. And we went through the process of saying, okay, I agree to do this, and you agree to do that, and we're going to really try to make this work. And we went through the perspective of trying to shift who we were to help meet the needs of the other person. That went on for several years, and it had success to a degree. But at the end of the day, my first wife said, you know, I really think we should separate and divorce. And that's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted. And so I had to stop and process that and look at it. So here I am. Now, what is it that Mark held on to as a belief that was limiting him and causing him pain in this moment? And I looked at it and I said, well, my parents were married forever. You know, I went to 50th wedding anniversaries. And I had to look at the fact that I held within me a belief that once you're married forever. Okay? Well, all right, I have to maybe look at that. I looked at the fact that if I had to communicate to people I was getting a divorce, I looked at that in other people as a failure. And maybe I was afraid others would see me as a failure. Okay, there's a belief I'm holding on to that I'm a failure and will be perceived. The good opinions of others will see me as a failure. Okay? And there were other beliefs that contributed. But I looked at all of those and said, okay, maybe I need to challenge myself and look at it differently. And then I put my perspective into my ex-wife's perspective. She got married when she was 20. This is all she's ever known. She's been raising kids all her life. She wants freedom. She wants other experiences. She wants to express herself at her highest ability. What would be the best for her? I can learn and grow by letting go of some limiting beliefs and allow her to have the freedom to express herself at the highest level at the same time if I can learn to let her go and love her. And this was the key learning that came from all of this, was that I could love somebody even if they're not in my life. That I could let them go to be the freedom of who they were. And to live and blossom as a full expression of who they were as a spiritual being. That I wasn't a failure, but that I was a success because I had learned and grown and taken a new perspective on it. And I have learned that every scenario in my life that's had that challenge moment, if I could stop and take a new perspective and look at it, what am I holding on to that I believe is true that maybe isn't true? And what are the needs of the other person? And what's calling to be birthed? Some newness to be birthed out of the change. Every one of our scenarios has something that we can look at. There's another saying that I want to throw at you, and that is one that I think we often attribute it to Wayne Dyer, which is, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So within my individual relationship, I began looking at it like I can love my first wife, even if we're apart. I can learn to see that we're both spiritual beings calling to express our life in greater levels. I'm opening my space to new relationships. And those who may know me personally know that, you know, it led me to that process of going through dating and eventually remarriage to my current wife, Mary. I say current wife, we've been together now 20 years. And it is a blessing. It is a glorious blessing. And in the whole creation of this was the creation of a relationship where I am such good friends with my ex's husband. She's such good friends with my wife. We have this blessed communal relationship where we go all with the kids and grandkids on vacations together. And people say, oh, I want that, I want that. And I say, that's great, and I feel blessed to have that. But it took a change in everyone to get there. So now back to you. In your scenario that's in your mind, you've got something in your life right now that is less than what you want. Or you want to take your abundant life to the next level. Take yourself out of it. Put yourself as an outsider and observe the situation and say, what are your beliefs that are holding you back? What is it you believe that's contributing to that scenario? What do the others in the situation believe? How can you birth something new and greater? By finding the unity of every spiritual expression in that story and allowing something else to come forth. If you can do that, you'll create that brand new baby day we're talking about. You can create the brand new something in the world of form and at the same time move up into a greater and greater spiritual awareness at the same time.